In December of 1972, a squadron of B-52s took off on a bombing run over Vietnam. In one of those eerie twists of fate, the U.S. Air Force had decided to call this mission Operation Linebacker. In that final B-52 mission, Captain Robert Thomas's aircraft was suddenly struck by artillery fire. Thomas made sure his entire crew escaped their damaged aircraft before bailing out himself. Before he got the chance, the plane erupted into a fireball. While his crew survived to tell the tale, Captain Thomas was never seen again, leaving behind a 5-year-old son who would grow up to become one of the NFL's most feared defenders. Without his father's guidance, young Derrick Thomas started down a dangerous path in Miami. He broke into houses, stole mopeds, and seemed destined for disaster. By his early teens, Thomas found himself standing before a judge who would change the course of his life forever. Instead of sending him to juvenile detention, the judge saw potential in Thomas and ordered him to attend the Dade Marine Institute. It was here that Thomas learned the discipline and goal-setting skills that would shape his future.
It gave him a little bit more incentive. When he went, he was so far behind in his grades. But when he went there, the teaching and the learning experience that he had there, it was priceless.
The structure and guidance Thomas received at the Institute transformed him from a troubled teen into a focused young man with clear ambitions. Football became his outlet, and his raw athletic ability began to shine through. His combination of speed and strength made him a natural on the defensive side of the ball, catching the attention of college scouts across the country. When it came time to choose a college, Thomas headed to Alabama, where he would become part of one of the most dominant defensive lines in college football history. Alongside teammates Cornelius Bennett and Keith McCants, Thomas terrorized opposing quarterbacks and shattered Crimson Tide defensive records. His relentless pursuit of excellence culminated in winning the Butkus Award in 1988, establishing himself as the nation's top linebacker. As the 1989 NFL Draft approached, Thomas had positioned himself among the most promising defensive prospects in years. The draft class itself was shaping up to be historic, with quarterback Troy Aikman projected as the top pick and 2 transformative talents named Sanders, Barry, and Dion expected to go early. When draft day arrived, Aikman went first to Dallas as expected, offensive tackle Tony Mandarich second to Green Bay, and Barry Sanders third to the Detroit Lions. Then came the Kansas City Chiefs' turn at number 4. New head coach Marty Schottenheimer was looking to make a statement with his first draft pick, and Thomas fit perfectly into his vision for rebuilding the Chiefs' defense. The selection would prove to be one of the most important in franchise history, as Thomas would go on to redefine the linebacker position and transform Kansas City's defense for the next decade.
The Chiefs knew they were getting a playmaker when they drafted Derrick Thomas with the 4th overall pick in the 1989 draft. But what they couldn't have known is that they were getting a legend.
Looking back, the 1989 first round alone produced 5 Hall of Famers and 11 Pro Bowlers. Thomas, along with both Barry and Deion Sanders, dominated the NFL throughout the 1990s and completely changed their positions. But Thomas's journey to Canton would take a different path than his draft classmates, filled with record-breaking performances, game-changing talent, and ultimately, tragedy. That bright-eyed rookie arriving in Kansas City carried with him more than just athletic talent. He brought the discipline learned at Dade Marine Institute, the competitive fire forged at Alabama, and a burning desire to honor his father's memory. The Chiefs were about to discover that in Derrick Thomas, they had drafted a force of nature who would change the way defense was played in the NFL. From the moment Derrick Thomas stepped onto an NFL field, he played with an intensity that would define his career. It took just 2 weeks for him to announce his presence to the league, recording his first career sacks against the Los Angeles Raiders. That initial multi-sack performance, finishing with 2.5, was a preview of the havoc Thomas would wreak on quarterbacks throughout his career. His rookie campaign set the tone for a new era in Kansas City, as Thomas earned Defensive Rookie of the Year honors and gave Chiefs fans a glimpse of what was to come. But no one could have predicted the historic season Thomas would deliver in 1990. His sophomore campaign started with a bang, as he recorded at least half a sack in each of the Chiefs' first 5 games. Then came a November afternoon against the Seattle Seahawks that would etch Thomas's name in the NFL record books forever. In a display of pass-rushing mastery, Thomas sacked Dave Krieg 7 times, breaking Fred Dean's single-game record. By season's end, Thomas had amassed 20 sacks, leading the league. Even though he only finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting behind Bruce Smith, he had one more sack than Smith and did it in one less game. During these early years, Thomas developed his signature move, the Kansas City Strip. The technique combined his explosive speed with perfect timing to not only sack quarterbacks, but almost guarantee a forced fumble in the process. The impact was devastating. Throughout his career, he forced 45 fumbles and recovered 19 of them, turning defense into instant offense for the Chiefs. No quarterback felt Thomas's impact more than John Elway. The Denver Broncos star got sacked 26 times throughout their AFC West battles, more than any other quarterback Thomas faced, and more than any other player ever sacked Elway. Fittingly, Thomas's 100th career sack came against his favorite target, adding another chapter to their storied rivalry. Thomas's presence transformed the Chiefs into a perennial contender. Kansas City's defense ranked in the top 10 for 9 of Thomas's 11 seasons, powering the team to 7 playoff appearances. The numbers tell the story. During his tenure, the Chiefs maintained a plus 120 turnover ratio, with Thomas personally responsible for 65 of them. Simply put, his ability to change games with a single play made offensive coordinators restructure their entire game plans. The first 5 years of Thomas's career showcased a level of production that put him among the all-time greats. Want a comparison to how impactful he actually was? Just look at Von Miller, one of the game's most recent high-impact pass rushers. Miller had 60 sacks in his first 5 years. Thomas? He had 66. Thomas's versatility was equally impressive. He sacked 46 different quarterbacks throughout his career, proving he could dominate against any offensive scheme or protection package thrown his way. By the mid-1990s, he had established himself as one of the most feared defenders in NFL history. His combination of speed, power, and technical skill made him virtually unstoppable coming off the edge. In a crucial 1994 game against the San Francisco 49ers, Thomas demonstrated his game-changing ability with a 3-sack performance, including a crucial safety that swung the momentum in Kansas City's favor. These moments became routine for Thomas as he consistently delivered when his team needed him the most. The NFL has seen its share of legendary pass rushers throughout the decades. Bruce Smith terrorized quarterbacks for 19 seasons, setting the all-time sack record at 200. Reggie White earned the nickname Minister of Defense by combining raw power with his devastating swim move. Lawrence Taylor completely changed the linebacker position with his unprecedented speed, skill, and power. Today's defensive stars carry on this legacy. In recent years, there's been Aaron Donald, who dominated from the interior like no one before him. J.J. Watt's relentless motor redefined what a defensive end could be. Today, T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett continue to rack up sacks at historic rates. But in conversations about the greatest pass rushers ever, Derrick Thomas often gets overlooked. Yet the numbers tell a different story. Through their first 11 seasons, both Thomas and Bruce Smith, remember he's the NFL's all-time sack leader, had exactly 126.5 sacks. Thomas was matching the pace of the most prolific pass rusher in history.
He had his own moves. He could spin, he could jump. He had as much athletic ability as most running backs.
And then, of course, fate intervened. As the 1999 season came to a close, Thomas had every reason to look forward to the future. At 33 years old, he remained one of the NFL's most dynamic defenders. On January 23, 2000, everything changed.
That day in Kansas City, a fast-moving winter storm blanketed the region.
While driving to Kansas City International Airport during a snowstorm, Thomas lost control of his vehicle. The crash threw both Thomas and one passenger from the car, as neither was wearing a seatbelt. The passenger died at the scene. A third passenger, who was wearing his seatbelt, walked away from the accident with minor injuries. Thomas was left paralyzed from the chest down. The football world held its breath as Thomas began his recovery at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami. His fighting spirit seemed to emerge once again as he started rehabilitation. But just 2 weeks after the crash, Thomas developed a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot that would travel to his lungs. On February 8, 2000, Derrick Thomas passed away at the age of 33. The NFL community mourned the loss of one of its most charismatic and dominant players. The Chiefs retired his number, 58, and would go on to rename their most valuable player award the Derrick Thomas Award, cementing his legacy within the organization. Throughout the 1990s, Derrick Thomas built a resume that placed him among the greatest defensive players in NFL history. His 9 consecutive Pro Bowl selections spoke to his remarkable consistency, while his 5 All-Pro nominations confirmed his status as the premier linebacker of his era. When the NFL selected its All-Decade team for the 1990s, Thomas's inclusion was a foregone conclusion. By the time his career ended, he ranked 9th all-time in sacks and was the Chiefs' career leader in sacks, safeties, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries. But Thomas's impact extended far beyond the football field. Inspired by his father's military service and sacrifice, he became a regular visitor to military bases and personnel. During a visit with then-President Clinton to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, Thomas recalled his father's memory.
It's very ironic that my father's last mission was named linebacker 2. It's very ironic that in college I had 52 sacks and my father flew a B-52. There are a lot of things in this storybook that don't make sense to me, but they just keep happening, and the pieces of the puzzle, they just keep fitting together. And I figure if I play this story out long enough, it'll have a happy ending.
His dedication to serving others led to the creation of the Third and Long Foundation, a literacy program that helped thousands of children learn to read. These efforts earned him the NFL's most prestigious honors for community service, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, and the NFLPA's Byron Whizzer White Humanitarian Award. President George H.W. Bush recognized Thomas's contributions by naming him the 832nd Point of Light, celebrating his commitment to improving lives. 9 years after his death, the Pro Football Hall of Fame finally called Thomas's name. His son, Derrick Thomas, accepted the honor on his behalf during an emotional ceremony in Canton. The induction speech highlighted not only Thomas's remarkable statistics, but also his revolutionary impact on the linebacker position. His speed off the edge and ability to create turnovers changed how teams approached pass protection and influenced a generation of defensive players who followed. Today, Thomas's legacy lives on in multiple ways. Modern pass rushers study the techniques that made him so devastating. His Chiefs records still stand, a testament to his dominance during his 11 seasons. To this day, he remains a beloved figure whose impact transcended sports. He transformed a franchise, revolutionized his position, and dedicated himself to making his community better. While his life ended far too soon, his influence continues to resonate through the halls of Arrowhead Stadium, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the lives of those he touched through his charitable work. The 1989 NFL Draft gave us 3 revolutionary talents in its top 5 picks. Barry Sanders danced his way into Canton. Deion Sanders became the greatest cornerback of all time. And Derrick Thomas created a pass-rushing legacy that still influences the game today. And like his father, in that B-52 over Vietnam, he put others before himself until the very end.